Hello, and welcome to Supposedly Fun. I am Greg, here today to do the Vlogmas Book Tag. Thankfully, you do not have to be participating in Vlogmas in order to participate in this tag. But first I wanted to show off my t-shirt that I just ordered. It's the Gashly Chrome Tinies by Edward Gorey. I used to have a t-shirt that had this on it, but I lost it somewhere along the way, so I was able to restore it, and now I have it back, and I love it very much. I got this from Out of Print, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. I also ordered a t-shirt that has a To Kill a Mockingbird motif on the cover, and I'm sure you will be seeing that in a video very soon. But anyway, let's get into the Vlogmas tag. So I am not participating in Vlogmas, but I have been enjoying some of your videos. I had already fallen behind on watching videos in my feed, and Vlogmas really made me fall behind because there's a lot. There's a lot. I'm a little overwhelmed right now, but I'm enjoying everything I've seen. I'm not doing it myself, but I figured this tag is kind of my way of participating and saying thank you for all of the content. This was created by Britta, Böhler, and Shawn the Book Maniac. I will link their videos down below. Do check them out. So each prompt in this tag takes a letter from Vlogmas and turns it into a prompt. So let's get going. Prompt number 1, V is for Voyage, a book that involves travel. Interestingly, the first book that jumped to mind for me involves sci-fi fantasy, which is not a genre I read a whole lot of. It's not that I'm against it, it just tends not to capture my interest. So the book that I immediately thought of was The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, which of course is the precursor to the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I did not finish the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I read The Fellowship of the Ring. I liked most of it. I thought there was a really long part in the middle that dragged and probably could have been edited out. I'm sure fanboys would hate me for saying that, but it is what it is. I did not finish The Two Towers, and I never even started The Return of the King. Actually, now I don't remember. I think I did finish The Two Towers, and I just never started The Return of the King. I honestly don't remember. It's been a while. So, but I really enjoyed The Hobbit, oddly, because I had a little bit of a struggle with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but I really enjoyed The Hobbit a lot. If you're unfamiliar, it is the story of Bilbo Baggins, who goes on an unexpected journey. That I believe An Unexpected Journey is the subtitle of the book. It's really good. It's a lot about friendship and doing the right thing, even when doing the right thing is something that makes you uncomfortable. And of course, it directly sets up the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. During the course of it, Bilbo Baggins discovers the ring that is right there in the title of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. So there you go. Prompt number 2, L is for LGBTQ+. Recommend a favorite book or author. Now, I've already talked a lot on this channel about how much I love Maurice by E.M. Forster, so I'm not going to go with that, but I'm going to put it right here for you. I really seriously considered James Baldwin, specifically Giovanni's Room, but also James Baldwin because he writes very well about being gay and also the Black experience in America in his life, but it's, you know, very much relevant now. But I decided not to go with that because I've talked about him a fair amount on this channel as well. So instead, I'm going with Regeneration by Pat Barker. I have not read Pat Barker's other books, specifically the 2 books that follow this and create a trilogy, but Regeneration is a really wonderful book. I read this in college and I just absolutely loved it, and I've been meaning to read the other 2 books ever since. So Regeneration is very much about, it's a World War I novel, and it deals with some real-world people who are characters in the book, including Siegfried Sassoon. It deals with war and post-traumatic stress, which at the time of the war would have been more commonly known as shell shock, but it also deals with masculinity and homosexuality. Characters in this book are struggling with their forbidden desires for men, and it just does a really beautiful job dealing with all of those themes and tying them up in a beautiful package. So Regeneration was a finalist for the Booker Prize when it was released. The 3rd book in the trilogy, which was The Ghost in the Road, actually won the Booker Prize. And I'm hoping in 2020 I can complete the trilogy. I would start by rereading Regeneration. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's really, really good. Okay, prompt number 3. O is for Oldie but Goldie, a book you read a long time ago that holds a special place in your heart. I wanted to stick with the kind of Christmas theme since it's December and Vlogmas, you know, it has Christmas, Vlogmas, it ties together. So I was going to go with The Night Before Christmas, but there's a very particular edition of it that that we read when I was a child, and it's the one that I would have wanted to talk about, and I don't own a copy, so I'm going to go with a different Christmas book from my childhood instead. The Sweet Smell of Christmas, which is a scratch and sniff book. This is something that my parents used to read to me in the holiday season, and it just used to get me so jazzed up about the holidays. If you want to know why I was so excited about Christmas and the decorating and all of that, The Night Before Christmas and The Sweet Smell of Christmas are big reasons for that. In The Sweet Smell of Christmas, this little bear wakes up and he knows that Christmas is coming because of all the things he can smell, such as this apple pie. And then it just goes from there. It's such a charming book. I love it. And it meant so much to me as a child. It continues to mean a lot to me as an adult. So there you go. Prompt number 4, G is for gift. Share some anecdotes about good and bad experiences with books as gifts, both given or received. Now, one of the difficult things about being someone who loves to read is that people tend not to know what to get me. And as a result, they don't really want to buy me books because they're worried that they're going to get me something I'm not interested in reading, or they're worried that they're going to get me something I've already read. They're worried that I'm going to be judgmental for some reason about what they give me. So I'm much more likely to get a gift card now. And I'm actually okay with that because it lets me shop. And part of the thing, I love the experience of shopping for books. I'm sure anybody watching this can probably relate. So that always makes me really happy. But so I don't really have stories about good or bad experiences with being given books. And to be honest, I'm a little skeptical about giving someone a book as well. No one has ever complained when I've given them a book, but I guess it would be kind of rude for somebody to cause a scene if you gave them a book. So, you know, it is what it is. Prompt number 5. M is for Massmarket Paperback. Do you like them? Why or why not? If you want, show us a couple, talk about a couple you have read. So I will show a couple. Massmarkets, I'm not opposed to them. I like them. They're not my favorite format of book. That would be the larger trade paperback or quality paperback, which is what this is. Just because it's a little easier to read, it tends to hold together a little better. But I'm not opposed to a mass market paperback because they're cheaper, which makes them easier to get in most cases. And I don't worry about keeping them pristine as much. So, and that can be a relief. They're easier to travel with. They're easier to carry around. A lot of them I can even fit in the pocket of my coat if I'm wearing one. So there are definite benefits to a mass market paperback. I prefer, as I said, the trade or quality paperback, but there's definitely room for them. Now, what I particularly like mass market paperbacks for is rereading. So if there's a book that I like and know that I am likely to reread at some point, I like to have a copy of the mass market. So here's To Kill a Mockingbird and The Catcher in the Rye. I have trade paperbacks and hardcover copies of these because they're some of my favorite books. But the ones that I actually read are the mass markets. And that's because I'm not worried about keeping them pristine if I'm going to be reading and rereading them. And I don't actually have notes in To Kill a Mockingbird, but I know I have underlined passages in The Catcher in the Rye. And that's one reason I like these. I can mark them up. I don't feel bad about it. And I know that I can reread them without worrying about them. One of the things that I struggle with the Harry Potter books when I used to reread them more was that I have the original hardcovers that I purchased. I don't have paperback copies of those books. So because I've reread them a lot, they're not in great condition, and I have started worrying, especially the bigger ones, that they will fall apart at some point. So I need to get paperbacks of them someday. Prompt number 6, A is for all in the family. Whether you come from a family of readers or you do not, tell us all about it. So I don't, for the most part. People in my family like to read, my immediate family that is, but don't do it all that often. My grandmother, on my father's side, was a big reader and very good at English. So, arguably that is probably where I got it from. But yeah, most people in my family don't read a whole lot. My father, for a long stretch, he would read to us when we were children because he thought it was important, but he never read on his own. And I'm really thankful that he did, because the fact that my parents read to me is part of what made me a reader myself. So he read to us all of the Little House books and several other books. and a lot of picture books when I was young. The Sweet Smell of Christmas is something both of my parents read to me, and my mother would read to us as well. She didn't read longer books like the Little House books, but she definitely read picture books when I was smaller. So that is what made me a reader, but neither of my parents reads a whole lot. My mother likes history books. She will read them, but she doesn't necessarily seek them out. She doesn't read a whole lot. My older sister likes to read, but she has always had other priorities. She's somebody she's one of those people you want to hate because they're good at everything, but they're actually a good person, so you can't hate them. So she was always really good at English. She was really good at science. She ultimately pursued science, and now she is a doctor and a mother. So she's got a lot on her plate. She doesn't read a whole lot. She still does read. And her taste in books, I believe, is actually similar to mine. My younger sister reads, but not a whole lot. She'll ask me for book recommendations, and I tend to know the type of thing that she will like, but whether or not she'll actually pick up the recommendation is, I don't know, remains to be seen. She doesn't always do it. And sometimes she'll get to something after the fact. Like, I remember I told her she would probably like Big Little Lies when it came out, but she did not read it until after the TV show came out, and she was a fan of the TV show. And I got to be smug and say, I knew you would like that. So there it is. But so yeah, nobody in my immediate family is a huge reader, but they do read, and they helped set me up in life as a reader. Like, I remember sometimes when we were little kids, my older sister would decide, okay, it's reading time, let's both read a book. And that's probably another thing that helped shape me into the reader that I am today. So they're not big readers, but they also contributed to me being a reader, if that makes sense. Prompt number 7. S is for Santa, books on your Christmas wish list. Well, I'm going to refer to my laptop for a moment. So some things on my wish list. Let's see. Born to be Posthumous, The Eccentric Life and Mysterious Genius of Edward Gorey. No coincidence, I have one of his t-shirts. That is a biography of him. I don't know a whole lot about his personal life. I know he was a really interesting figure, so I would like to read that. Sweet and Low, stories by Nick White. I have a bunch of Academy Awards books, like 85 Years of the Oscar, The Official History of the Academy Awards, Academy Awards, The Complete Unofficial History, Revised and Up to Date by Gail Kin, just because I love the Academy Awards. It's one of my passions. I also have the reviews of Pauline Kael and some by Roger Ebert on my wish list. Because I love movies and they are, great, well-respected critics. I think it would be interesting to read those. Something I just added to my wish list. So Howard Cruz recently died. I had not heard of him, but he did graphic novels about LGBTQ themes. So there was Stuck Rubber Baby and The Complete Wendell. Those are things I would really like to read. The problem is the copies I've seen online, because this book must be either hard to find or fully out of print, are really expensive. So probably not going to happen anytime soon. Hopefully they'll be reprinted. Maybe now that he's died, they will get on that. I hope so. So those are some things on my Christmas wish list, or just my general wish list. So there you go. That is the Vlogmas Book Tag. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I will link the videos from Britta and Shawn down below. I'm going to do my usual thing. I'm not going to tag anybody. If you want to do this tag, go ahead and do it. It's your life. So I leave it up to you. And thank you, as always, for watching this video. I really appreciate it. And I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.